We'll call this February 15 meeting of the County Commissioners to order. Please join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hi, everybody. First on our agenda is minutes of our previous meeting. Have you had an opportunity to review those?
Move to approve.
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Dale, second by Tracy to approve the minutes of our previous meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
3 ayes, Jane. Okay, department reports. First up with us today is Mr. David Lang is here from Fayette County Transit.
You want me here?
Right there.
Here? I haven't done this before. I am David Lang. I'm with the Fayette County Public Transit Company. We are here today to request our funding for our grant. A total of $105,161. This is part of our quarterly grant that has been approved through NDOT for the year. So this is our second draw for this time period. Just going over the figures, our fuel costs are up a little bit the last quarter. Repairs are up a little bit. We did have a 2022 van ordered, but it had been discontinued because of the chip problem, some of the vans. So we're not going to receive that this year. I think we're going to apply for it again next year for 2023. Right now we have 12 vans. That's all that we use. Well, probably 10 of them at least every day. 9 of them every day because we have 9 drivers. Right now we're in pretty good shape on all of our equipment. Some things, anything else I was looking at, we had one pretty good expense this year, or this quarter, for our computer software. We paid that one time a year. It was $20,105. So that's been paid for another year. Does anybody have any questions about transit? Any of our programs?
Anybody have any questions for Dave?
How does your transit work? Can anybody use it, or certain age people? Or?
Sure. We're open from 7 in the morning till 6 at night, 5 days a week. You call for, let's say if you had to go to the doctor out of town, you need to call 2 or 3 days ahead of time for that. We are a demand transit unit that you could call us this afternoon. If we're capable of getting you today, we will, but most of the time it's 24-hour service. Like I said, right now we have 9 drivers. That's the most drivers we've had we just hired a couple more, so that's good for us because we're always looking for drivers.
How does your charges work?
We charge one way $2.50. Say you want to go to Walmart and come back home, it's $5 round trip. Out of town, it could be $60 to go to Indianapolis. That's a round trip. We do wait on you. Most of our trips like that are Medicaid, and our Medicaid is a substantial provider for us.
I might add, this is an extremely valuable service to the community. I'm sure Dave would agree that a lot of people wouldn't have any other alternative if we didn't provide this service.
And the concept is for old people, and that's not true. We haul anyone to younger children, mom and dad, or going to the doctor, whatever, we do that. If you're 60 and older and you don't have any money to pay us, then we'll haul you anyway. So that shouldn't be an issue with us.
We haul a lot of dialysis patients
Yes.
too to their dialysis treatments.
Yeah, that's we have at least 10 or 12, I think, right now, every week. So that's picking them up and bringing them back. So.
Have anything else for David?
I don't.
Okay. You want to approve the Fayette County Transit's second quarter claim?
I'll move to approve 105, 161.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Dale, second by Tracy to approve the second quarter Fayette County Transit claim for $105,161. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
3 ayes, James. Thank you very much, David.
Okay, thank you.
Here from our 911 department, Kelly Van Meter has some 144s for approval.
Hi. So I've hired 4 people. I think I only turned 3 in because I just hired this girl and she started yesterday, actually today. So I'll get that information over to Amanda or make an appointment for her to come in. So I've got Amber Rigger, Ashley Dill, Aaron Packus, and Danica Collis. As with per the county handbook, what we do over there is we do the training and what we need to do to get them into that position within that 90-day trial period, as the county handbook states that they have as a probation time. At the end of the 90 days, or like prior to that 90-day mark, I do a review with them to see if they're going to make it or not, because the job is a little dynamic. It's a little bit of a, some people come in there with expectations of something different, so sometimes they don't make the cut. And so at this time, these are the people that I've got that I'm training. They have been hired to train for 911. In the review period, I'll have to come back and probably update you and let you know what's happened or if we've kept them or let somebody go, if we need to do that. You're gonna love that. That's okay. You're gonna love that. Look, it was over here too, so. Oh, okay. This one's the one that I need to make an appointment with Amber. She just started today. Okay. That's good. Any questions?
Is this all the part-time you have, or do you have more?
This for now is what we have. I do have another a second half of applicants that I have not brought in yet, just in fact because other things have been happening. Myself and Sam, another full-timer, is our trainers in there, and there's obligations other than that we haven't started the second half of the applicants. But again, it's nice to have a small group because we don't have a lot of room in behind the consoles or in a room where we can actually train them by the book. So I feel that a couple of small groups at different increments would be a better idea than having all those people in that room and nobody can see or hear, and of course we're still live on the air, so they can't all be back there, doing that kind of thing while we're trying to work too. So I'll need to come back, but I'm going to do these girls here for the first 90 days. But I do have, I ended up with 15 applicants when I put the ad out, which I was overjoyed.
Do they get the phone, what's it called, if you give somebody information over the phone on how to do CPR or something like that?
Yes, they don't get that within their training time, because even though our county does not pay for that, the state does allow that luxury to be paid for by the state. It's $300 a person. So I wait until after the 90-day program in the process until I decide that they're going to be able to go forth and get that paid for them.
And that's also with, like IDAX, that's waiting
Yes.
until after?
Now IDAX does not cost any money. But again, I don't want them to, I'm not even training them on that right now because it just alleviates their load. Because my main concern would be the 911, the entry of the call, and proper radio traffic first. And then we go to the state files at another time, separate class. And that doesn't cost anything, but it costs my time for training.
Right. I'll move to accept the 144s on all 4 of the personnel.
I'll second that.
Okay. Is this for 3 or 4?
4.
Okay.
In the beginning, I only had 3, but as of today, another one started because she just came along 1 week late
Okay.
from our process, so we started her today.
How to pronounce Aaron's last name?
Packus.
Packus. Okay.
Everyone's local except for the Danica. She's from Richmond.
Okay. We have a motion by Dale, second by Tracy, to approve 144 request 911 for Danica Collins, Aaron Packus, Ashley Dill, and Amber Rigger. Is there any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
3 ayes, Jane. Anything else, Kelly?
Unless you have something for me. I haven't been here, so I'm glad I'm back. So it's been a hit the road, just hit it running. That's all I've been doing, kind of. But I'm glad to be back.
Glad to see you back on your feet.
I know. I'm glad to be on my feet. It was a lovely joyride.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks very much.
Thank you.
County Assessor Jeff Coleman is here over a printer purchase.
Thank you.
Yeah, this year in our budget, we requested monies to replace our large capacity printer, and so these are the 2 bids we finally got in, and I come today to request that we accept, well, there was one bid was from ProSource, and it's for a Kyocera printer, and that value was at $5,870 plus change. And then we got a bid from Rico, and its value was at $4,893. And I would like to request that for your approval to buy the Rico. It's it's $1,000 less, and we're familiar with the Rico products. They do real well. We have a nice 60-day month service term at no cost, so it's a good savings and a good product, and I just need your approval to buy that.
So your old one quit on you?
In fact, it has. We actually have been able to use it as a scanner, but we can't print anything. I've been using Jane's for large projects, things we've had to print in large quantities, but we have another backup, an HP backup, that you can't scan or receive fax from or anything like that, but we can print from it. So, well, it doesn't make copies either. So we have pieced together a way to keep it working. But yeah.
Yeah, I totally understand the inconvenience you
Yeah.
have there with that. Anyone have any questions for Jeff about these 2 bids?
Do you have that in your budget to
Yes.
handle that?
Yeah.
I'll move to accept the Rico bid for $4,893.
I'll second that.
Do we have a motion by Dale, second by Tracy, to accept the bid on a new printer for the county assessor's office in the amount of $4,893. Is there any further question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
3 ayes, Jane. Is there anything else, Jeff?
That's it. I'll keep it short. It's
When do you
unusual.
expect delivery of this?
You know, we're uncertain. I know some county offices have bought printers and are still waiting on them, but this is just a black and white. I think they have more in stock, so I'm not sure. I really don't know.
Okay. Well, hope you don't have to wait in line too long.
Yeah, we'll get as soon as we can now that I have approval. So thank you for your time, and my staff greatly thanks you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Health Department, Matt Shirk.
I have brought a grant agreement for your review. The grant agreement is just the same as the grant agreement we had last year for the health department for reimbursement on vaccines. Every time we give a shot, every time we give a COVID vaccine, we enter it into the computer and we take the insurance information and it goes to the state. The state then bills the insurance company and then they reimburse us. The reimbursement rate is on page 12. So this is the reimbursement rate we get for each vaccine, each shot we get. This is exactly the same as the one we did last year. It just has new dates on it. So I just wanted to get approval to go ahead and sign this new agreement. There's some,
Now, is this for COVID vaccines only?
right, our vaccine clinic. So
Okay.
anytime someone comes in for a vaccine, we don't bill them anything on site, but we do bill their insurance company for a administration fee. So this is what the state turns around, gets from the insurance company, that repays us. So we don't do the actual billing ourselves instead of, and this is how they chose to return the money as a grant. So last year, I think our last year we got, it was $82,000 that we were reimbursed for vaccines. So this one, I'm not sure yet on what the date range would be on it or how many shots or I'm not sure what the amount will be, but it should be a significant amount.
Okay. Is Joe Lisa,
I copied her on the grant, so I know there was, like I said, it's the same as the one we had last year.
okay.
So I didn't get a response though. But I know there was some questions with it last year as far as being repaid as a grant and how the money can be spent. I know those issues, those issues were all dealt with.
Well, they sure help out. I don't think we're going to be out of the COVID vaccine business anytime soon. Anyone have any questions for Matt on this grant application?
But like I said, it is the same as the one we're currently under. It's just a renewal for the new dates.
Now, let me back up here a little bit. Is this a renewal of the original grant?
No, it's
Or an
the same.
application?
It's the same grant. It's the same grant agreement, but it's new dates. So the other one expired December 31st. So this would be the new one.
Okay. Will this renew automatically or?
No.
Okay, so you still have to go through the application process, like,
That's what this is. It's just basically I'm looking for permission to sign this and say yes, we'll take the money that we're due.
Yeah.
So
okay.
And we have to come back in June and do this again, because down here under number 4, it says January 1 through June 30th,
if they renew it,
Yeah,
if they renew it, just
every 6 months.
yeah.
Okay. I'll move to approve the grant agreement.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Dale, second by Tracy to approve the agreement for this grant to reimbursement, vaccine reimbursement. Any further question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
3 ayes, Gene. Is there anything else you need?
That's it for me. So
Did you get the new truck?
Yes, got the new truck and did get the lower price, so they did stick by the $500 less, so that
Oh,
was
that's good.
positive from Larkin. So the truck is on site, and I turned the title paperwork and everything in, so now I'm just waiting to get everything transferred over. Bill did get the keys for the other truck, so well, I just have to follow up with everybody to make sure we get all the plates and fuel cards and all that stuff transferred the way we need to do it, but haven't done anything yet. But it is a perfect vehicle for what we're using it for.
Oh,
Is
good
it the
deal.
white one?
The
I
black.
seen it said-
It's a black one.
Black one?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a black F-150. So.
Hmm.
Do you have any COVID updates for us today?
We're still listed as red, but our numbers are, that's running 2 weeks behind. So our numbers, our testing numbers and all that stuff are coming way down. We're not seeing near the influx of tests and stuff that we were. So it's a positive sign here locally that we're seeing less. So we're right in the middle as far as the update I saw this morning put us at like 44 or something. Statewide is on how our numbers were. So we're right in the middle as far as our positivity rate. But yeah, we're on the downward trend of the Omicron at this time. So I haven't had. There's been some people asking about a new variant. I have not had any updates on a new variant that's going around yet. So we're unaware of anything right now that's emerging as a new variant. So
There's been very little news about this new variant. I don't.
yeah, I've had no updates on anything, so I'm not aware of anything.
Okay.
That's it for me.
All right, well, thanks very much,
Thank you.
Matt. Area Plan Director, Bill McDaniel.
Here's the contract for iWorks for the permit software. There's that one for signatures. There. Okay.
I take it it's going to be your recommendation that iWorks is
Yes.
the better of the two choices you had?
Yeah, it's more cost effective. The people I spoke with I don't see any advantage to spending the additional $20-some thousand with Schneider, because that's what it, because you'd be back into Beacon world. And there doesn't seem to be any advantage to that, with the permit software. So I do recommend going with iWork. And everybody has been pleased with how iWork has been to deal with. And they're moving along down in Franklin County. So it's not fully implemented, but they're working on that. Now, there's a couple of things that came up with this month, as Mr. Westling's aware, is for DZA and the APC, which has really been a huge time sink for me. But I'm hoping that we can get through these things at the February hearing, and then I can plow back into, number one, working with iWork to get the different functions up to speed. And also a big one will also be giving more opportunity to start digging in with the big one will be with solar energy also. So those are going to be the two big ones for me right now. Once we get the permit software implemented, is big part of my time is really going to revolve around the, getting things ready and then actually speaking with more people in other jurisdictions that have the ordinances, have been through the public hearing process for solar farms, to see what we might need to change, okay, and then also to get a handle on what sort of information for us to have up hand so I can get to the plan commission members, and then also the county commissioners, and then also the city council members regarding information about effects of solar energy. And so want to get a handle on that before we get around to really dealing with the public hearings. Because I know we're still going to have this information, but we want to have the right information in everybody's hand before we even get to that point.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Bill on this service agreement? Ironworks.
And I am going to need to, since I was uncertain of how much I was going to need, so I was able to get $5,000 inserted into this year's budget. Now, what I will need to do then is to then get an additional for the, to pay for the rest of it, for the, what we'll need upfront money. And so that's going to be a total of, upfront will be $12,000. So I'll need to get ask for another $7,000, and then work into the annual budget will be the, a sufficient amount to pay the annual subscription fee. And after this year is seeing how much of that actually gets covered through the fee, okay, through the fee associated with each permit to help cover those costs of the permit software. We'll know to what point we might have to adjust fees next year.
Well, would this agreement be effective on February the 18th?
If that's what you put on it today, or if you put today's on it, it's effective today.
Okay. That was one thing I was wondering about whether this could or should be in your annual budget. Of course, the 2022 budget, council didn't budget for this sort of thing. Does the county attorney, have you had a chance to review this?
I have.
Close enough to see if there's anything here we need to be concerned about?
I have. Two things I always look for in some of these contracts are what state law dictates, because sometimes they're sneaky and they'll put Minnesota or something, which becomes a problem if we ever want to challenge it, right? This one doesn't issue, I don't think this one has that anywhere. I know they're a company out of Utah, but they're doing business in Indiana, so as long as they don't mention it, we can sue them in Indiana. The other thing that I think is something to think about, termination, we can't terminate this contract without cause, meaning unless they are some way neglectful or some way are not fulfilling their obligations. This is a 3-year term, so we have to do the initial 3 years. We can't get out of that unless they're defaulting on their own. And then it automatically renews 1 year every year on the anniversary date. Just something to think about. I don't typically like automatic renewals, but if we can get out of it, we get out of it. Just something for Bill to think about and for you guys to think about.
I just have a question then. What specifically is the concern you have with the automatic renewals?
Well, because you get caught into, and I think I've dealt with 2 uniform companies with automatic renewals and several subscriptions like this. It's just, you think that we signed a 3-year contract today, right? Mm-hmm. And then you want to get out of it.
Indefinite.
Yeah, and then you want to get it, but so you might have to wait 9 months or 8 months to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, just something to think about.
Okay.
I typically we'll sign a 3-year contract, and then every year we'll sit down and talk about a new contract.
Okay.
just something to be heads up. You're going to want to, if you start having troubles with this thing, you're going to want to start looking at that anniversary date and realize that we may or may not be able to. We generally can get out of them early, but if we can't, just something to think about.
Okay. All right, and I spoke with James. The person I put down as the secondary contact related to this would be Michael King as the IT. Then, of course, for the billing contact would be Terry in the auditor's office.
And remind us again how the training, will that be on location or?
It'll be online.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and that was I was hoping that would have been an advantage with the other vendor. But the other vendor was, when I asked them about the on-site training, said they'd have to refigure out the billing in order to accommodate on-site training. So it would have cost us additional money for someone to come down and do the training. Unlike the contract that we have with WTH.
Okay. Anyone have any more questions for Bill on this agreement?
I don't.
You said that you did, I know Franklin County was utilizing the same program, and you did
Yep.
go and see it or speak with someone?
Well, no, I spoke with their planning director, Mrs. Rochelle, and so she said it's really easy dealing with them with it, even though they're not present. It's still been a smooth process for them. The other two I spoke with is they haven't had a problem with the process. They're happy with the product. So as I start making more demands on things to do, so as I become more familiar with what it does do and what it can do, so I'll probably have to then go back through with these people and say, okay, if I want to do this, it sounds like it's what's covered in the meantime is but as far as the permits, the communications. I've spoken with, I know with Matt in the past, I know there's things that we could probably do with them to direct link into any permits that any other department has with the county and the city. And I know that there's permitting and permitting requests that can be online for Townersville utilities. So I'd also have to I'd like to have don't know if you have something, Jay, that we could do online permitting for the request for the drive cuts.
These driveway can't pay that.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, if you have something that they can make a request online, if you have something set up that they could do that with, say, email contact or something like that to make a request. Well, as we're going through this, I can get the information for what we need to do. So that way is there to be just a standard form, which I'm seeing. So that if someone does, all they have to do is boom, here's the request, here's the address. And I know I've spoken with Bill in the past, Mr. Mackey in the past, also that he could have something done where they can make the request to Bill for as far as the addressing goes. We'll just need to figure out what exactly we need in the actual physical request to make sure he can accurately identify the location and then give it a proper address.
And refresh my memory, Bill, if I remember right, the county assessor's office would benefit from this.
Oh,
also.
yeah, they benefit greatly. They'd be able to have, instead of me going through and handprinting paper copies for the monthly report, anybody that with the monthly reports can set it up so that it's at the permit report. We can then probably include in the reports and everything as far as the permits, the petition. We can probably also set it up so that inspection results can also be included in the report. So the monthly reports, it'd be nice to have that. And then it'll make it easier then to Now, for them to, because they'll be able to actually access, if they have a question on a certain permit, the assessor's office can actually go in and set it up so they can go in and actually then get a copy of it, because the way it works out now is that Eric has to come down and then ask me for, what do I know about this one project?
Okay.
And I think one thing that'll be beneficial is that as time goes on, is and as we get applications where plans are being sent to me as electronic files with the plans, that'll also help the assessor's office.
Any more questions?
Does your price, you said you needed 7,000.
Yeah, I got 5,000 into the budget.
What about the annual subscription fee, the 9,000?
That's going to have to be in there in the future, but right now I have 5,000 in it, so I'm going to have to request for this year an additional 7,000. And then I'm going to have to make a request for the annual budget to have the subscription fee in the annual budget for the $9,000.
So do you have the 9,000 then to
No,
make
I
the-
still have to request the 9,000. I used $5,000 so I could actually have a number to actually get a line item approved related to the software. So I have that, I have the line item, so now it's just a matter of getting the number bumped back up. And then I guess one thing I'll probably need to do is check with Terry to see how, well, just like with the different things with cars is now, you have to separate labor from parts. So I'll just need to check with, at least for this year, the product and then the annual subscription fee. So whether or not those can be just done on the same item, or we're going to have to find something different right now. So.
Dale, in the immediate, the difference there, we could either pick that up out of the commissioner's budget for contractual services, or 1st of March, ask the council for an additional appropriation. And the auditor and I briefly discussed this earlier today, but we really hadn't reached a conclusion. Jane, do you have anything to add to that?
Probably can't do it at March 1st because there's not enough time to advertise.
Well, that's right.
April. But
So we have those two options.
So do we need to approve this contract pending funding from council? Or just
No,
approve it?
I don't think that you probably don't need to do that. It's just the find the additional funds. I think, as Dale mentioned, is that if, I suppose if necessary, is, I don't know if this would be an appropriate way to do it, is say this first time around, if we need to get the money more quickly with the commissioners, and then if there'd be a way which through the, I don't know if you could get repay that through an additional or not. I don't know. I don't know the intricacies of that.
Well,
Because if it's contingent upon getting that approved, it isn't until April, which means that the fees that we have right in here, particularly that one reduced fee of $6,000 to $3,000, that's contingent upon taking care of this before the 18th. And so then if we wait until then, well, we can't wait until we start doing any of the work on setting up the system until after April anyway.
worst case scenario, if we ran out of money in our budget for contractual services before the end of the year, then we would have to ask the council for an additional appropriation. But it's not, I don't consider it a critical matter, but it's something, you know, you're right to ask questions about it, because we've got to be able to pay for it.
So we can just go ahead then and approve this as it is.
We can.
I'll move to accept the proposal from iWorks for this agreement contract.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Dale, second by Tracy, to approve the service agreement with iWork Services for the Area Planning Commission for, well, not really APC, but for the, what do you want to say, for the building?
Yeah, well, it actually is, since since just the way that things were set up, we actually do administer the building, the building code. So I think that just Area Plan Commission, because it's the entity in place with the ordinances for adopting the building codes, identifies the Area Plan Commission.
Okay, well, we'll just label it as Area Planning Commission.
Oh, it does remind me, is I do need to, that's right. Another one, third item on the top of my list.
So let us get this taken care of.
Yeah, okay.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further question? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, 3 ayes, Jane.
Okay.
Now, did you have anything
Oh,
else, Bill?
yeah, because I just realized that, as I mentioned, the thing about the building code ordinances, is I still need to put those back together, that last little bit together, and then send those off to the state of Indiana. So kind of reminded me. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Bill.
Okay, thank you.
Emergency Management Director Adrian Ellis is here for a mitigation plan, a safety plan, a civil rights plan, and civil air patrol.
Bill, help me out.
Thank you, sir.
You always have plenty of good reading.
I kill trees right away. I sell those two. I'm gonna give them to them. We've got a few items and only a couple need to have you act on anything. Mitigation plan, we're moving along. February 25th is our first public hearing, and I'm building a committee. I'd like to have, well, I need to have a commissioner on that committee. So I would like to let you three fight that out. But as before with the federal government, they like to know who's doing what. And whomever would like to serve, please indicate. In your packet is some reading material on the mitigation plan itself, kind of an overview. Again, there's no action need to be taken on that. We're moving along. We have 3 public hearings to do. The first one is the 25th. And then we'll move on with our committee. I'd like to have Jay, and don't give me dirty look like that. Why not you too? But this is looking at anything we can do to help the county and minimize any problems. For those who don't know what mitigation plan is, you also. Basically think of this. You're trying to minimize the damage or eliminate it. And think of a house. And 50 feet away from that house is a tree that's 70 feet tall. Now, you can leave it and hope nothing ever happens, or to save yourself, cut the tree down or at least cut 20 feet off of it. Mitigation tries to minimize that, and that's what we're doing. This is a federal requirement, and it's due every 5 years. I'm working with IU and the Polis Center on this, so we're moving forward there. In your packet is a cover letter from Reed Hospital. I work with them on their hazard analysis. We just finished that. Next in that group is an overview of our civil rights program. I've kind of left that there for you to look at, get some ideas on, and how we can go forward with that. There are a lot of things that we have to deal with that are every day, and then there are other things that we have to really take a good hard look at, how we talk to people. A good example is Presidential Directive Order 13166. That's for people with limited English proficiency. Another language or the inability to speak, how do you deal with them? I've run into that as a member of Homeland Security's task force when we were deployed to a hurricane. We have to talk to people. A lot of times they don't speak English, some can't, and we have cards that we use. I was put in a situation to deal with 4 men, I'll never forget it. They were from Hungary. They couldn't speak English, so those language cards really helped out, and I think that's something we need to look at. Some kind of visual aids, and then we need to look at Braille, things like that. You see Braille in a lot of places. I don't exactly understand why they're there. If you go to the ATM, there's Braille right there. Like you're driving a car. If you go to McDonald's, there's Braille on the wall in the back. I'm not sure how that works, but we have to look at it. So that, and there are also things we can do that help. Current technology, we're moving up and basically living up to Star Trek. The digital translator, those are available, $30 to $150, and you've got the ability to speak and listen to someone in another language. That should be something to consider in the offices around the courthouse. So those are things to consider, and as time goes on, I'll add more, and there's some information in your packet about that. In the safety coordinator position, I'm updating the action plan. There were some comments made about COVID. I think some of those changes we've made, I think they need to be permanent, because a lot of this coincides with the safety and protocol, communications. How do we look at that? You know, you'll see a lot of places now have shields up. And one thing that I think Dale said, we're going to be looking at this for a long time. It could be a permanent thing, but we need to look at how to protect the employees and the customers that come here. So those are things we'll look at down the road. Our emergency alert system, I want to get a regular date in there to upgrade and, to do maintenance on the little devices. I'd like to use March. When we have a time change, that will be the annual date to change the batteries in all of them. So that is a set time frame. I found batteries to be good for a year plus up to 8 months. But so that gives us a year. So I would say that would be an annual event. The courthouse emergency plan update is ongoing, but I want to set up a training schedule that we need to look at how our employees are trained, do safety programs, and something that I don't know if we've done or not, but I want to stay ahead of OSHA. I'd like to have an annual evacuation to look at how we get out of the building, where we convene once we get out, the type of reporting, so that each office knows everybody's out there, so there's accountability. How do we communicate that? How do we look at fighting fires? So we have an annual fire extinguisher training day. You know, a lot of people take those for granted, but I know everyone's experienced the ones where they grab it and it doesn't work and they don't know how to pull that pin out. I have found something. I will need a motion from you on this. I looked around, I talked to Courthouse. They were willing to come in and train. I talked to the fire departments. They're willing to train. They have the fire burn pans, but their problem are the fire extinguishers, heavy cost to them. Corson wanted $3,400 to come in and do this. My thought was, why can't we get some fire extinguishers? Well, you can go out and buy one, 15 to 20 bucks a shot. You need about 10 of them. And I found a guy in Richmond that sells them. They're used, but they're perfectly good. My proposal was to buy 10. They're $25 a piece. And we can use baking soda. 50-pound baking soda is as little as $30. And those are perfectly well suited for training. So my motion to you would be to contact this gentleman, agree to a purchase and buy 10. So that'd be $250 plus another 30 to 50 for baking soda to set up our training program. That would be an annual basis. So that would be a motion I think you would have to make.
Adrian, are you talking about an annual fire training session
Yes.
hosted by Corson?
No. Well, they want to host it, but they want $3,400 to do it. The
Okay.
fire departments can do it, but they don't want to incur the cost of refilling their fire extinguishers. We can alleviate that because baking soda is used for that, and they're easy to recharge. Hold the handle down, put an air gun in the front nozzle, hold it till it reads the proper pressure, let go, and you're charged. And that'd be perfect for training out here. So once you have them, you don't have to buy them again. You know, your cost is done. So basically a 10-year run is going to cost you very little to do that. And I'm sure that the 50-pound bag of baking soda will last you for years. So it's a one shot and one deal.
Do you have anything on paper that would describe how this would be done?
The process of training or buying?
Training?
Yes.
Okay. Is that included in any of this?
No, that's in the emergency plans procedure I'm
Okay.
updating.
It'd be a good idea to get that to us.
Sure.
Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No.
Go, you continue.
So that is something we need to look at and make a motion on. I can contact the gentleman. There's no hold on what he has. He's just selling. And I don't know if you want to make a motion on that now or.
I don't know if you come prepared for this or not. Or you want to think about it.
Where does the money come from to pay for this? Where would that come out of?
Thank Tracy. That's a good question. I'm not sure.
You might need to think that through
Okay,
for a little while, Adrian.
no problem. The other part is training. I want to do active shooter training for all employees. Want to have a meeting with the legal authorities, county attorney, the judges, prosecutor, chief of police, and the sheriff to look at some issues going through a lot of courthouses today. One thing concerns me is how people react to things, and there's a current trend called independent auditors where people go test the system. They walk into a courthouse and start taking pictures, and how people react is the name of the game. People have the right to do that, but a lot of people that work in particular places don't understand that. And that is where the problem comes in, and I want to alleviate that. But I'd like to put that down in the documentation as part of standard operating procedures, and I want that to be totally legal. That's why I want the legal authorities' opinion in on that. Fayette County's not immune. There's a video that I can get you a link to on YouTube where they came to Connersville. and they wholly embarrassed the police officer. They went in City Hall and made it worse. They ended up filing a complaint against the officer. We can avoid any of that, but the biggest part of that is that a lot of people don't understand they have a right to come in. The object of creating privacy in what we do, that's on us. That's the individual office. I have 7 envelopes in my office that are deadly to me, and I keep them under lock and key. I have a non-disclosure agreement from when I ran the ACAMS program for Homeland Security in the district. My non-disclosure agreement with Homeland Security basically says if I divulge that information, I can go to prison for 18 years. So it's up to me to create the privacy for that, so that's why it's locked down. Same holds true going in, looking at someone's records. You know, it's up to us to make that difficult or impossible. So those are things we have to look at, and having legal authority behind it, that is something that we need to do, cover ourselves. The last 2 things, standard training, AED and CPR training, an annual event. If the county could, there's a $5 charge for each employee to get their card. I'd like to see the county pay for that. There's no charge for anything else. Nate Stevens at the fire department sets the training up. I got an AED simulator for him. So that's all covered. I just think it would be nice if the county would do that, because these are the people working here that can eventually save someone's life. I think it would be a good gesture on our part. And the last item, I was contacted by Lieutenant Herbert of the Indiana Civil Air Patrol on wanting to put a radio and antenna at my office. No big deal, it's just a 3-foot antenna. I can put it on the pole that the weather station's on. I just wanted to get your permission to do that. There's no cost to the county. Now, the Civil Air Patrol is critical in a lot of things in search and rescue. I don't know if you remember this night. I wish we would have had them. We had people that flew trying to find us at night, but they didn't know the proper methods to do it. And they flew over that plane, I know 3 or 4 times, and didn't see it. These people know how. Plus they have night vision and everything else, and they know how to communicate. So we can work with them from the ground, or they can work with us from the air. But I would like to get your permission to put that antenna and radio in my office.
Okay, is that just a small one that you do?
It's the size of a car stereo with a power supply, and the antenna is about 3 feet tall. About like a whip antenna on a police car. It's small. Nothing intrusive or anything that would cause a problem. And the frequency they're on is not going to be anything to bother anybody.
Okay. Okay, does that cover all the items you had?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you want to give Adrian permission to put up the antenna over there for the Civil Air Patrol?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Dale, second by Tracy, to allow EMA to have the Civil Air Patrol antenna at the office over there. All in favor signify by saying aye. 3 ayes. Now, Adrian, remind me again, when is your public hearing?
The 25th.
25th of February?
Yes, sir. In the prosecutor's conference room over here.
In the prosecutor's conference room?
Tentatively scheduled at 1 o'clock.
Okay. 1 o'clock. And your public hearing will be mainly on the mitigation plan?
Yes, that's the only subject. That will be the official first of 3 public hearings.
Okay. All right. Now, either one of you have anything else for Adrian today? Tracy?
Well, I've heard that you are very successful at pursuing and getting grants for our county.
Oh, Lord.
And I know that in the past, see, I'm new, so I'm learning things. I've just been here since October. But I thought about, there's an annual grant that's coming up. Jolisa and I thought about some things too, and I thought you probably are aware of our, based on Kelly being here even, the 911 operation being in need of an updated console.
I have, and this goes back to last year. We started talking about the other side of the fence, which are the legalities and plans. We need to follow a plan. Kelly and I talked about that this morning. Dale and I talked about it. We've met with the department heads. We did testing to find the weak points in the county. One of the biggest issues in radios is what frequency to use. They all have positive and negative. The lower the frequency, the further you go. The higher the frequency, the more it will go through an object. I know a lot of people are dead set on 800 megahertz, but in the same respect, there are a lot of people who are walking away from it. 800 megahertz is extremely expensive. And I think Kelly can probably testify to this. That system's down every month for some reason or another. You hear that nasty little buzz in the background. It's a different kind of a system, but it's very effective when it works. Case in point, this is my 800 megahertz radio. They're very expensive. When they first came out, they were $3,000 or $4,000 a piece. But this system is not complete. When it is done, it will be amazing. Right now, you get in a police car, you've got a radio that can talk to a repeater on VHF for 40, 50 miles. I have an antenna on my roof that I have to do a monthly check-in with Homeland Security, and I'm hitting a tower 68 miles away. Now, having said that, these operate in the same realm as a cell phone and auto towers. When the system's complete, I'll be able to talk to somebody in Honolulu. I can talk to anybody in the state of Indiana right now through this. It's great, but we need a combination. We need VHF and UHF. But we need people to adhere to plans. And directives under the National Incident Management System. It speaks of communication. We have to have a communications plan, which talks about what we do and how we do it. And we need an interoperability plan that talks about how you talk to each other outside of your realm. I'm all in for going after grants, but I can tell you from having written grants, including the last one I did, the reality is if you go in with a game plan, your odds are much better. But going in and say, I don't have enough money to buy this, can you give me money? That's a good way to get turned down. I would like to say we need an overall conversation of all the players, the city and county, where we're going. That way we don't just keep putting Band-Aids on things. You know, I'm here, you're my boss, I'm here to serve you. And that is exactly what I'm going to do. I just want to do it the best, most productive way. And I'm extremely concerned because there are potential problems with not following the plan. I can give you two. One's the South Carolina fire. 7 firemen were killed. They were sued by OSHA, and the lawsuit was for $27 million against that community because they didn't use a communications plan. 2 firemen in Iowa, Buttram versus United States of America was the lawsuit. 2 firemen died in the wildfires. There's even a tribute to these 2 guys on YouTube. The wind changed. They didn't know about it. They weren't told what frequency it'd be on. That was a mitigating factor in the lawsuit. And there's also no training roster for the truck. As simple as it may be, there was no roster that said put the key in ignition, start it, and drive away. There's a picture of the truck, and it's horrible. I don't want that here. And I think we all, not just Connersville, but I think all of us are in the same boat. We're so used to doing things, we just go this way. Unfortunately, under NIMS, it solves a lot of those problems, but people still want to do things the way they used to. But the bottom line is, yes, I can write a grant. I think I just want to up the odds of getting the grant. And I don't want a failure.
Yeah. I think I hear what you're saying. I completely agree. No longer that I've been in a position, and we've all talked about this, we would all agree that Fayette County has notoriously been on, everybody's been on their own little frequency, so to speak, in what they want. But I believe at this time, it seems from the communication from the mayor and from Kelly and different people, everyone's feeling the same with what you just said. There needs to be understanding across the board what we're using, how we're using it, so that we're really the safest we can be, and that everything's being done the best it can be for our county. Not just the city, but the county included in that. So what would be good, I guess, is what we would ask is maybe if you and Kelly could come up with this, what you're wanting to go along with this grant writing request is a plan, is what you're talking about, a plan for communication. And so I think the two of you could probably come up with something that could go along with that before the grant process is over. Because my main concern as a commissioner and hearing that our system we're using over there is outdated and it's going to be obsolete, really. It probably already is obsolete. That's the understanding I got. And that is putting us in a very vulnerable position. And, you know, I just feel like we could work. It sounds like you really want to work at this too, and I love the heart you have for this. So I feel like if you work with, you know, if you and Kelly can come up with something to put on this grant that would make it move forward for us, then that, I know it's not for the full amount. My understanding is it might be 40 or 50,000, the grant. And then I think it's roughly, it was $160,000 bid that we had at one time, and I'm sure it'll be more than that now. But that's something that, you know, every little bit would help.
Absolutely.
And as soon as I felt, just me personally, I felt very, it just put a fire under me, so to speak, to think we've got to get this taken care of for our 911 system. And I know that, you know, she doesn't have it, that money. And, you know, I just thought, you know, if this is a good way that we can work together with her and help our county, it would be a wonderful thing to do what you can do to move forward with it. And you know what it is. You're great at it. That's what I said. You know, I've heard that you know how to pursue and how to obtain grants. You have a lot for our county. You've done a lot. So, and I am someone who's interested in being a part of your what you spoke of in the very beginning. I am very interested in that, and so I'd be willing to be a part of your board or whatever it was you said you want to comprise. You know, I'd also be interested in that. So I'd love to work with you in the process. So
We talked this morning, we've talked before, we started a process last year to implement communications plan. That and the interoperability plan means we've got to talk to everybody around this and what they're doing. We have to be compatible. There's a lot of technology involved, usage involved, and a lot of people they know what a radio is, but what it does and what affects us. You know, I'll give you a brief thing, then I'll get out of here. I've been in the radio since I was in high school. I was in the radio club. I was doing 17 words a minute, Morse code. I'm lucky to turn TV on now. It's one of those things that when you understand what the frequencies do, what changes them, what affects them, like in the jail, a VHF radio is going to have a hard time getting through there. But you get into the next realm, which is UHF. VHF is in the 150 megahertz range. VHF is in the 400 megahertz range. The higher you get, the more it penetrates. that is where you make the decision based on the requirement. Radios are manipulated, an experiment for you, for anybody here, if you want to get an idea of what I'm talking about. Before it's dark, go outside and turn on your radio in your vehicle. Put it on AM. Dial around. Listen in the background, you hear a lot of noise. Go out at night and do the same thing, it's gone. There's a reason for that. It's the atmosphere. When you're driving down the road in the winter and you're on an FM station, you hear something way in the background, you hear where they're from, might be Florida. That's called skip. As you go through the atmosphere, the temperature drops 5.6 degrees every 1,000 feet. But when you go up high enough, there can be a layer that's warmer. A radio signal will get up into that and start skipping. You'll hear West Virginia, Florida, and understanding how all those are, and then there are antennas, they're different kinds. Antennas can improve or decrease your communications possibilities, and then the amount of power. The amount of power, as an example, a straight line, you can use very little power. And the best example of that, you know the 18-inch TV dishes you see? Kelly and other people using a 100-watt radio. You can talk 60 miles on a repeater. The satellite putting out that feed for that little dish is putting it out with 20 watts. 20. That's not even a light bulb, but it's straight. No interference. Those things have to be discussed. What you have, how you use it, and if we're going to talk about, you know, high dollar equipment and all like that, I think the law, correct. If you start talking about bids 25,000 or more, you have to get multiple bids. It should, and you should bring a lot of people in here. I love working with Kelly. She's bright. She's on the ball. She knows what's going on. She needs 1,000% support, and we can solve this problem, but it's more of an administrative one than anything else. You know, I can, what's that saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. This is no different. We can put all the radios in the world in front of somebody if they don't know which one to use or how to use it. That's where the loss is. So I think we should probably set up a meeting and get into these things and get that. I've got the plan written. I can bring it up anytime, both of them in fact. So I'm open to that.
Adrian, you say you have a communications plan written?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And an interoperability plan.
All right. Let me pose this question. Since we have, there seems that there is a grant application window of opportunity early this spring. Using the plan that you have written, do you think it possible that we could be prepared to let Jolisa make application? Or no, this wouldn't involve Jolisa, this would be you. Could you be ready to apply for a Homeland Security grant for a new console this spring?
I can. I have to check with FEMA, see if that's eligible. FEMA has what's called an AEL, approved equipment list. I'll have to double check and make sure that that's in there. I believe it is. A lot of times they get sticky about it. The SHSP single usage, I think, is a $50,000 limit, but if you get an entire group together, it goes up to $150,000. So we've got to have our ducks in a row on what we go into. I'd say, excuse me?
What groupings, like law enforcement, all the agencies that we serve?
Yeah, all the people that you serve, how you go about it, what you're going to do. They will have to define what it is they need. They will have to look at their equipment. In the past, we've had problems not being able to communicate. A lot of that goes to the antenna. Line of sight, I stood outside the courthouse in Wayne County, and I hit the Fayette County repeater with a little handheld radio. So it's there. We have to start getting into the technical side and get people on board with that. And then the plan, the NIMS, I'll be glad to sit down and talk to you about this. I think it would make a lot more sense if you saw those. Yeah, I'm game.
Well, this being your last year on the job, I think all of us would feel better having you at least get this thing started rather than having to rely on a brand new person to do it later on. Would you agree to that?
Yes. Well, you have a lot of years of experience.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you for that, but sometimes you run into some hard heads and I don't want to hear it. I know that's hard to believe.
It's
Yeah,
easy to
yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
It is just one of those things that my greatest fear is that police officer that picks up a radio and hits the button and it doesn't work. That's my greatest fear. So, I will get all that together. I will talk to Kelly. And I think we should set up a meeting, sit down, talk, go over it.
And I did make a copy for you of what they currently have and what, you probably have this, and then what a recommendation was made from a company. I thought you could use a copy of that, go over it, and be
Oh, okay.
information for you
Okay.
to look at and, make your assessment on that and give your opinion on it.
Yeah, this one too.
Yep.
Now with three of you there, you're gonna have to get legal on that, I think. Two of you is quorum, I think.
Yeah, we'd have to announce it as a special meeting.
Yeah, well, we can either do that or a couple of us can sit out.
Sit around the corner.
We're all
Elizabeth.
willing.
We've got until February the 25th.
Okay. Well, I'll get a communications package together, and I'll just give all of you a copy.
Okay, appreciate that, Adrian.
Yeah, thank you.
We're in this battle together. And that's it. Anybody have any
Okay.
questions?
Yeah,
Thank you.
well, thanks very much, Adrian.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to, I noticed Michelle's here. Michelle, did you bring any business today?
No, I'm just here for the PLC.
Okay. Dave Rickman, did you have anything for us today?
I just have a monthly report that you already got.
Okay, yeah, I got mine the other day out of the mailbox.
Still chugging along there.
Okay, Highway Department, Jay, do you have anything for us today?
Good afternoon. We've been doing some research on the stripper truck, trying to figure out what we can do to make it work. We've got a company that's gonna come down and look at the monitor on it, the eye that spots the road. Because we were talking to the mechanic over in Rush County, and they replaced the eye on theirs. They went with GPS on it because it wouldn't work right. It was doing the same thing ours is doing. So we're gonna get them down and see if they can look at it and see if it's actually doing the problem to us. And we'll know more about it once they get down here and do it. He said to replace it and put a GPS monitor on it is about $4,000. Time they come down and do it. That's still cheaper than buying a new truck.
Well, that's not a drop in the bucket of what we spent on it so far.
Oh, yeah. But we're gonna go work with that and see if we can't get them down here and look at it. I still got Ed and I are coming down to look at the roads and to get their opinion on it. It don't hurt to have as many people look at it as we can, because we're not having any luck with it. So we'll go from there.
I hope this works.
We'll be out tomorrow putting gravel on some of the gravel roads, trying to make sure they don't get real sloppy like they did the other day. Because they were a mess the other day when you called. All that water was standing right in the middle of the road. Not good. But we're gonna do that, and we'll probably, I don't know if we'll be able to get a patch machine put together to get it out, but we can get some cold mix out on the ground to get some of the roads.
The potholes are starting to show up.
Yeah, and this up and down freeze and thawing is not gonna help them.
Right.
They're gonna crack and break, and nothing you can do about them until they do it. I wanna be able to, if it's all right with the board, I'd like to bring somebody in the open spot we got, while we got a man off, to fill that void so we're not short-handed all the time. I'll put him in a truck driver position, and we would move a truck driver up into heavy equipment position, if that's all right, until we get this all decided what's going on.
Okay. So you need that spot You need somebody in that spot?
It makes it better than being short-handed, because if somebody gets off sick, then you're 2 people short.
Yeah,
And I have been down to as many as 4 people off at a time. And that just cuts you down where you can't do nothing.
okay. You got somebody on the list for that?
I'll do some research and check around. If I do anything, I'll bring Chuck back and put him in there, because he's good with a truck. He's run heavy equipment, but he just soon drive a truck.
What do you say?
He didn't need to.
Yeah.
Okay, give me a motion and a second then.
All right, I make a motion that you can fill that position with, get your applicants or whoever you feel comfortable with driving a truck. I'm sure they have to have that CDL license and all that, you know that, so.
Yeah.
Make a motion that you can do that.
Okay, we've got a motion by Tracy, second by Dale, to allow the Highway Department Superintendent to fill an open position with a temporary employee. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
3 ayes.
And I don't really have anything else unless you got some questions for me.
I got one.
Okay.
When you gravel, the gravel road,
We're gonna start tomorrow. We've been
We're gonna go
hauling it
all
in
the way?
from Derbyshire to have enough up there to do it from the garage, so it ain't so far to go.
are you gonna do the whole road or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't know how much we'll get done, but we'll get, I've got every truck set up and ready to go. They took their boxes out, got them all ready. As long as I got enough people there to run them, we'll do it.
Dale will drive one if you don't.
Yeah.
We'll put him in one.
Okay.
Is our insurance paid?
Okay, do you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, well, thanks,
Thank
Dave.
you.
Thanks.
County Surveyor Bill Mackey, do you have anything? Okay. County Attorney, do you have anything for us today?
I do not.
Anyone have any mail they want to share? Do you have anything under old business you want to take care of? Okay, under new business, Mr. Scott Carnegie is here. Give us an update on the Dollar General project. Thank you, Scott, for being patient.
Sure.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Scott Carnegie, Project Manager with DLZ. Just as a kind of a set the tone so you know why we're here. We are here to present what we refer to as the Design Development Package. It is one of 3 primary design phases. At the conclusion of our presentation and after we've addressed any questions you might have, we would ask for a motion to approve the design development package and then authorize us to go into what we refer to as the last or final of the design phases, called the construction documents. And really that's where we get into kind of the nuts and bolts, when you look at like a set of house plans, or those are the detailed drawings and the specifications that we would issue for bidding. So just to get that kind of out of the way. Also, just as a reminder, we started in this report August 4th of 2020, where we did an assessment of 3 buildings. We did the Dollar General, the existing sheriff's office and jail, then the old sheriff's office and jail. From that report then, we put together this presentation. Cover sheet looks the same as this, but it was dated May 19th of 2021. And that's really kind of the precursor of what's led to us where we are here today. So this is the design development package. Also want to let you know that probably the last couple of weeks,
Dale, I know that you were aware, architects, engineers from our office came and visited and toured the facility, just so that they could document existing conditions, even though I'd been through the facility 3 times. With me today is Bill Stark, colleague with DLZ, who's been working on this project in conjunction with myself. Bill's the arm candy today. Just to let you know, there's also a host of other architects and engineers at DLZ that are working on this. The report that you have, kind of the big book, it's what we refer to as the Design Development Report. And in general terms, there's a written narrative from each design discipline. So you'll have the site civil, architectural, structural, mechanical, electrical, and fire protection, security, electronics. There's a written narrative that describes the proposed scope of work. After that, then, in the report, we've also included drawings, a little more detailed drawings of what we're going to present here today, just kind of a snapshot of where we are today. And we've also included what we refer to as cut sheets. It's furnishings and equipment that we believe are going to be included in the project. And with your approval of the design development phase and approval to start the construction document phase, then we would immediately schedule meetings with the sheriff and with Michelle to go through those cut sheets and make sure that we're specifying the products and materials that they would like to see used in the facility. So Bill's going to do a lot of the presentation today, and I'll just kind of ad-lib as we go.
Hey everybody. So what we're looking at right here is a kind of a site plan of what where the new women's annex will be. For those of you who don't know, it's kind of the old, well, I guess it was a Hooks, but now recently it was a Dollar General, kind of nestled between the current men's work release and the existing sheriff's office and jail. Some of the key features of this site plan are that we're going to be actually shifting the entryway over from the current existing entryway of the building. We're not going to have a use for that, so we're going to move a new entrance. Also, towards back here, there's an alleyway between the current work release and what will be the new women's work release, where we would like to be able to have a covered ramp that will take you between the existing jail and the new annex, mainly for food coming in, for anyone who needs for ADA purposes, for anybody who needs a ramp to get in and out of the building. Currently, there's a pretty good step between where the grade of the alley is and the grade of the actual floor of the building, so that will be a necessary thing. In order to do that, we would like to move to vacate the alley, and to kind of not necessarily close it off, but at least have some bollards between the existing and the new, allowing for that alley to be utilized more efficiently for the ramp and for officers and people coming and going. You'd still have access to it, you could still walk through it, but it would be closed to vehicular traffic. So here's our floor plan. As I said earlier, we are going to close off the existing entryway storefront, move the new entrance a little bit over to the right here, where you will kind of come into the new work release lobby. With the staff over here on the right, we'll have a staff lounge or break room, toilet room, and an office. We'll have the work release over here with the locker rooms and a testing bathroom with housing for 18 work release people there. Moving further north of the plan, we have the actual jail portion for For the women, we are just going to design this to Indiana jail standards, so that way it can be used both for men and women if you need to. So we'll have, you can see we have about 3 pods up there that are dorm style, and then we have 1 pod that is more of a segregation unit, where you have 4 cells that hold 2 people. Anybody who's causing trouble. In the middle of all that, kind of the central focus is kind of master controls. We kind of centered here. Have a chance to look north into the work release and see who's coming into the new jail kind of the control, the heart of the whole building. And then, of course, you requested some padded cells. We have those over there as well for people who are in need of holding.
Yeah, and just for clarification, those two padded holdings there, those were based on previous conversations between the sheriff and Michelle. Those are called shared spaces. So if somebody was out of control of work release and they needed, the use of a padded cell, it would serve that purpose as well as for the secure jail side as on that. One comment that Bill made, I just want to clarify, when he was talking about this facility being constructed to the Indiana State Jail standards, that's absolutely correct. I just want to emphasize that we are designing that work release area to Indiana State Jail standards, so we're kind of upping the standard there beyond what's really required for a work release, so that in the event, hopefully not anytime soon, but if you should ever have to capture that space for jail housing, you could do that. We just feel like it's just being prudent to go ahead and design that to Indiana State Jail standards.
This would be how we envision the front facade. We would update the brick to be, well, we repaired it. It's taken a lot of damage over the years, so we would obviously seek to make it usable. We would have to cover currently where that very old storefront and the awning are. We would remove that and kind of create this brick pilaster to work as a. You could use it as a signage for the building. This is a working title. We would obviously work with you to see what we would prefer to put on there. Awnings and storefront can change and match what existing.
So in our, interesting story real quick, in our office we have several kind of pin-up walls where various projects, various stages of design, we pin them up and then people can come by and make comments on it. But what Bill was just referring to as far as the name of the building, you see it's Fayette County Jail Annex and Work Release. We had to put something on paper. That probably generated more comments and interest among everybody in our office than anything, because they looked at it and they said, well, is that going to cause confusion? Because there's already, the male work release right beside of it, and there's the existing jail on the other side. So that's obviously something that's going to require some dialogue back and forth.
Here we have a roof plan of the existing, of what we would update the roof to be. Jail standards require a certain amount of daylight for inmates, and we would install skylights instead of windows that can usually be messed with and picked at and messed around with. We often find it safer just to use skylights with a security screen above, so that way they get the required amount of daylight, but there's less chance of anybody causing any problems or breaking out. So that's what we're trying to show here. So, budget. The hard costs are the hard cost is $3.1 million for this project, with the stipulation of, we know you talked to Stanley a couple of years back about upgrading the current jail facilities, their security system. That in order to proceed with this project as a part of the jail system, we would need about $200,000 to upgrade the current security system of the jail. If we don't get that, it will have to be its own standalone system, and I'm not sure if that's what we'd like. We're trying to work the budget with 2022 prices. Things have gone up thanks to inflation, but we are working very hard to ensure that we have a good buffer between what we can get you and that $3.1 million budget. So we're looking at alternate bids for a roof replacement, concrete floor treatment, staining, painting, whatever we want to do, and a number of other items that we're discussing internally right now.
Yeah, just to elaborate briefly, as a matter of a bidding strategy, we never want to design a project that we think takes it right up to the maximum budget. Just in the event that, something happens and bids come in over, that's never, I don't want to be standing here at this podium and trying to explain that to you all. So what we do is we design and incorporate alternate bids, things that aren't necessarily mandatory for the function and operation of the facility. But, for example, in this, again, completely hypothetical, but if bids came in at, say, 2.8 million, at the commissioner's decision, they could potentially, say, well, we want to add that alternate, and that bumps it up to $3 million. That makes sense? Just so there's a little bit of buffer there on bid day. So that's our bidding strategy. Bill talked about the Stanley Security. We have spoken to Stanley Security. We know that they provided a proposal to the sheriff a year and a half ago to upgrade the security electronics at the jail. At that time, Stanley said it was about $150,000. But because of the work that now has to be done, they believe it's closer to $200,000. But we're trying to accommodate that $200,000 as part of the $3.1 million. But what we are suggesting is that be a contract directly with Stanley outside of this scope. Just to kind of clarify that. And what Bill said is exactly right. The work at the existing jail does need to happen in order for the two systems to talk and work. So that, for example, if you wanted to control doors and cameras at the existing jail with master control, you could do that. You could take over this area and vice versa.
So the project schedule, as Scott said before, he's met before and worked with Sheriff and another of you on the previous schematic designs. So that schematic design study phase is now complete. For the last few weeks, we've been working on the design development phase. That is what is ending today. That is why we are here presenting to you. Assuming if we get your approval, we'll move on to construction documents like Scott said earlier. That'll take us around 8 weeks. Beyond that, we'll then go to the bidding and awarding phase, followed by the construction phase. And once the construction phase isn't done within 12 months, we will then move to the closeout and completion portion of the project. Any questions from me or to Scott?
Well, I don't know if this is something that has to do with where you're at right now, but I had the thought of on the roof, what type of roofing that this will have. I know for the purpose of heating and cooling now, typically buildings have always been black roofed, but the white is more, is that what you all are going towards?
Currently, you have an EPDM roofing system.
Which is black.
Which is black.
Right,
Yes.
which is not as good.
Right.
Okay.
What you're referring to is what's known as a TPO roofing system. That is one of the alternates if we have the money, if I have it in the budget to complete a TPO roof or something along those lines, we can do that. But
So there is a certain amount of roof repairs that are required. And the existing is a black EPDM, a single ply. So we would include as part of the base bid an allowance to be used for roof repairs that just absolutely have to happen. And then as part of the alternate bid, which would be a complete new roof, that would include the white TPO single ply membrane. Other questions?
What about, so, and maybe I'm out of turn and I've missed it somewhere. What about visitation? I'm not seeing anything where women will be able to visit with either loved ones or attorneys.
So we do have an item in our report for that. A lot of your current jails are moving more towards video visitation. So telestations right in the day room that requires less inmate moving around, less personnel, overall less cost in the long run. Scott knows a lot more about that than me.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot more to say other than kind of the old school way was, correctional officers are walking inmates down to a non-contact visitation, kind of what you see in a movie where somebody's on one side of the glass on a handset and we really don't do jails that way anymore. We do more of the video visitation or even video arraignment. Find that it's really more convenient for everybody and safer for everybody, just to keep inmates in their housing area.
I get that component. We have something similar in the current jail. My concern would be like attorney visits, where do they do? Because that's not confidential if they're out in the break room or out in the common areas.
Sure.
So what's the remedy there?
How do you currently handle?
There's a visitation room in our current jail with a separate area for attorneys to go in. We haven't used our visitation room for face-to-face visit for a couple of years now since COVID, and we went to all video visit, but I see what he's saying, to have a place in this facility where attorneys can come visit, as opposed to walking them, females, over to our jail. That can pose a problem. But
And that's something that we can take a look at.
It doesn't, to me, it doesn't need to be anything extravagant. It doesn't need to be a lot of room. I'm sure you could tweak something, but I just see it as a headache of, I go to the jail, see, and then it's gonna take them forever to go get a female.
Sure.
And it's, then does it change staffing issues? Because then you do have one extra person that's on staff, so there's somebody leaving this facility.
That's a good point.
That's a good point. They almost put us in a closet now. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything, it just needs to be confidential. And I absolutely love court call. Like, don't get me wrong, whatever it's called now, whatever it is that we use, I love it. It's a good way for me to contact my clients, but I can't really talk about their case because they're sitting in a room with other individuals who, if one of those inmates hears them talking about their case specifically, they become a witness against them. So, I think the defense bar would appreciate there being some type of room there. And honestly, I think that the staff would, because they're not having to take them over to the jail.
Sure. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. Other questions, comments?
What's this area?
It's mechanical. So over, yeah, I'll go back to the plans over the two of them show.
I'm guessing you're talking about the part of the north?
No, bottom right.
Okay, so, yeah, this is mechanical. There's currently a sprinkler, the sprinkler system's coming in here, utilities are coming in there. We thought it best to put the utility mechanical room right there to kind of condense that.
And with the plans, with the control room, are we planning on still putting the ability to control the doors?
Yes.
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 So it's a second control room.
Yeah, and internally, and this is kind of detailed discussions we need to have with you, but internally, it's included as part of the DD report. We talked about, paper pass, package pass, from master control to the jail side, and then we talked about whether or not we're going to do that in work release also. So anyway.
And then the control room, all the cells are visible, all the pods are visible from the control room.
Can?
Just windows.
No.
So it's all through cameras.
Well, yes. Now, what we have here, there's windows right here for privacy shutters. So if the correctional officer's walking down the corridor, you look left or right and that kind of thing, but there's absolute 24/7 camera monitoring for all the victims and recording. Any other questions?
Scott, you and I have spoken briefly about this. I've looked around and I can find no evidence whatsoever of a phase 1 environmental study being done on that building when it was purchased back in 2018.
Okay.
Now, is it still your recommendation that we do that?
So it's standard in the industry that if there's an existing building, especially of this age, that you would have a phase 1 environmental site assessment performed. All that is somebody that's trained. They walk through and they can look and they can take tests and say, there's vinyl asbestos tile, there's asbestos in the mastic, there's mold, there's whatever they might find. It just goes into a report. But at least then we know what we need to do, so when a contractor is ready to go in there and mobilize and start construction, it's all clean. If we choose not to do it, we don't have to, but when the contractor is awarded the project and he goes in to start demolition activities, If he discovers it, then he's gonna call timeout, then we have to deal with it. So usually what we'll do is, because we've also spoken about the need for a survey, just immediately around the building there, because you heard Bill talking about the site, grade separation coming out that back door and utilities. But we can issue a proposal to surveying companies, that do that type of work, and most of them will also offer the services of phase 1 environmental site assessment. So we can have them break out the cost of what that service would be, and then we can present those to the commissioners for review, discussion, approval. So that would be my recommendation. We already have the paperwork drawn up to solicit, survey, and we can just simply add environmental site assessment. We'll get proposals back from 2 or 3 firms, companies, make a recommendation and present it to you all for discussion and approval. If that's acceptable. And honestly, to have the phase 1 environmental site assessment, it's usually around $1,500, $2,000. It's pretty cost effective.
And not a lot compared to everything else. But we know that over time there's mold exists in the building. We know that for sure.
So as architects, when we walk in facilities like this, vinyl asbestos or vinyl composition tile, VCT, you probably have some here in this building somewhere, but it's 12 by 12, right? You lay a tape measure down, it's 12 by 12, it's vinyl composition tile. If you lay a tape measure down on a tile that measures 9 by 9, you know it's pretty good indication it's probably vinyl asbestos tile, which means it probably has asbestos in the mastic that holds it to the floor. And we know that in that one little corner down there, we saw some 9 by 9 tile. We presume it's probably vinyl asbestos tile. It's not alarming. I could take you up in probably half the buildings downtown here and they have it. It's not harmful to you if it's untouched. It's only when it's removed that you have to be careful. That need to be trained.
That's kind of what, when I came down here with Eric Grass, he mentioned you maybe having some inmate workers clear this building out, save you some money on demolition. We would say that if you did that, just don't have them touch that little floor there.
But right now, you're making an assumption.
That is correct.
That's not a proven fact.
That is correct.
On the schematic there, if they prove this today, you can still make changes.
Yeah.
It's like we discussed before that we don't need a lobby that big, and that's where a room can set aside for attorney-client.
Yeah.
It's what pretty much wasted space, because if somebody gets arrested, they're not coming in that building, they're gonna have to go to the jail. If their family coming in, or whoever bonds them, they're gonna be taken.
Sure.
I'm assuming they're gonna have to go through the current jail for bonding issues and all that.
And
So we can
do some sketching, with you, kind of right there, that kind of thing, with some tracing paper. I just want to caution, I know that you previously made a comment about size of the lobby, and we tried to respond to that. That lobby's really not very big the way that it is, but we can certainly do some sketching, pushing and pulling, and kind of reconfigure.
Now, when you guys design these, you do it all the time, do you make the control room where you have to use the cameras to see the pods, or?
We designed both. So probably what you're referring to, where you have direct line of sight, into every day room. It's what we call an indirect modular remote style. This size of this building, to get the maximum number of beds, doesn't lend itself to that type of supervision style. This is what we would refer to as a linear approach. It's the way that a lot of jails used to be built. It's the way the state of Kentucky, I don't know why, but the state of Kentucky, they still love their linear jails. So that's the concept
Is there any that can be visited and actually see the difference in what, I mean, he's a law officer, so he know, I mean, you might have a desire for that. And so I don't know that, we want to do what is best, so I kind of think it would be good for them to actually see how it works. Like you just said, there's one, the state prefers that, and, then there's two different styles.
So as far as the supervision style, you want to
Yes.
see differences? I'm sure there are. I don't know if I could name them off the top of my head. I'd want to talk to Eric Ratz.
You mean examples of what we've done past for our jails?
Versus a linear.
Oh.
We'll talk to Eric and we'll get back to you with the list.
I mean, as far as, is there, I'm sure there's a difference in cost too. Is one, like in?
Well, and what I was trying to say is an indirect consular remote, think of a wagon wheel. Whereas the heartbeat of a jail is your master control,
Right.
which is right here. So in a wagon wheel, you put master control in the very center. There's a hallway that radiates around that. And then your day rooms are kind of like in pie shapes off of that. So that for master control, you have direct line of sight into each of the day rooms. So you're not relying solely on cameras. This is a linear style, and just because of the size of the building that we're dealing with, it's laid out in a linear style, where, I mean, you do have the opportunity to observe, but you have to do it from the corridor, not master control. But then there's camera monitoring, which cameras in today's jails we rely on them very, very heavily. So it is being 24/7 monitored, recorded by cameras. But I think that, I'm sure we probably did, I remember talking like 2 years ago when we started this, but we probably looked at doing an indirect consular remote, and we couldn't come up with the bed count that we needed to make this feasible. Any other questions?
I can't think of anything. Michelle, do you and Zach have anything, any more concerns for us to consider in this at this point?
I do, just like we were talking about, the control area, and that they can make change. The only thing I see that concerns me is where the washer dryer is, but all that stuff can be changed. As long as, we can change those small
Oh, yeah.
things.
Let me ask this, Zach, on the matter on the loading ramp on the west side of the building there in the alley, don't we use that for when the food service contractor brings in supplies to the kitchen?
Yeah, they usually pull in on the north side of the building.
Yeah, so when we were here, even the food service pulled in back into this north alley here.
Okay.
They'll say northeast alley. Northwest alley stayed pretty much vacant the entire time.
Okay. There's been a time or two before when I have seen a truck backed in
Semi.
from the south.
Yes.
And I don't know, I didn't know how important it would be to your operation over there, whether it mattered, whether it be come in from the south or come in from the east on the north side.
To me, most of the time they come in on the north side. I know for a couple special deliveries they've pulled in that alley, but I don't see anywhere else to put this entrance.
Okay.
If they can pull in, or they usually back in from the south, there's no reason they shouldn't be able to back in from the east.
Okay, so there's no concern on either of your parts on this? Okay.
That's not gonna mess the Sally port up any, will it?
that spot there, no. That's closer to the kitchen, so it shouldn't. I mean, I would really like to see an entrance door right here in the, that's because that's closer to the sally port, you can just sort of walk right in, the inmates, now you gotta take them all the way around, but,
And I actually thought about that,
yeah.
but the definition of a secure perimeter according to the Indiana State Jail standards is 2 doors to freedom, and they have to be on an interlock. And that's what I was struggling with right there, but we could continue to play with that.
As far as feeding, that's gonna be our best option, and laundry, that's gonna be our best option, but, yeah, door down here would be nice.
Dick, you got something?
Yeah, I just got a question. I've got nothing in this. I'm just looking at
Now you're fine.
your prep. Up the upper left up there where it looks like you got a restroom there? And you got workspace in between. Is that a restroom there?
I'm sorry, right here?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that is 2 separate, so we have 1 pod, and then a second pod on top.
Well, I'm just curious, how do you get in to the back of that? If you need to get into the back of those areas? Because I see you have space on the rest of them. I saw that one, I thought, how do you get there?
Generally what you would do is you put a detention grade access panel into the chase, so that way they can reach in and shut off and whatever, fix whatever they need to.
Okay, I'm just curious.
No, you're good.
You're astute.
I like it. You guys asking questions?
I'm thinking like an architect.
He's standing down near jail meeting.
Anybody, anything else? Okay, so basically you need 2 decisions from us today.
What I would like is a motion to approve the design development package as presented, with a very clear understanding that there's follow-up meetings to happen with the sheriff's office and the community corrections, work release to kind of work through. That's typical. It's just part of the design process. So approval of the design development phase, and then approval to start the construction document phase.
And did you also need us to, for the environmental, the survey, you said something about that too?
If
Is
you
that
would,
important?
yeah, I mean, if you want to make a motion for that, but essentially, I think what the motion would be that you would authorize DLZ to solicit proposals on the county's behalf to have survey and phase 1 environmental site assessment. And then we would bring those back to you all, with a recommendation for review and approval.
All right, that's a lot of
Okay.
words you want to say on that.
Write it down, it'll be after me.
Let's see. I guess I will make a recommendation then that we do accept this renovation of Dollar Store for Fayette County Jail Annex and Work Release Program for our females, with the understanding that we're still working through that design process with community corrections and the jail, sheriff's department, and also add to that, giving you the authority to go ahead and move forward with getting the 2 to 3 firms that do the phase 1 environmental and survey.
And I think there was 2 of the 3. I think the third was approval to start the construction document phase.
And approval to start the construction phase.
It's a lot.
Yes.
Second.
You're supposed to repeat all.
That's what she's typing all out.
Okay, well, all right, we have a motion by Tracy, second by Dale, to approve the
I just read it off of here.
Yeah, approve the construction document as presented today, and to start the construction documents, and also to solicit firms for a phase 1 environmental study and survey work. Okay. Is there any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
3 ayes, Jane. Now, do you need anything else from us today, Scott?
So, thank you. Thank you for your
Well,
time.
thank you for being patient with us. We didn't, at the time we agreed for you to come in today, we didn't know it was going to be the busy day that it's been.
That's okay.
That's okay.
So,
Learn about county government.
okay.
Right, thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do you two have anything else under new business? Okay. Is there any patron concerns today? Okay, all that leaves us with then is the approval of claims and payroll.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second, motion by Dale, second by Tracy, to approve claims and payroll. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. 3 ayes, Jane. Begin right here.
These are just extra. If you want to hand them out, sheriff's office, council. There's also a thumb drive in here.
Thanks. There probably is a few more people that will want to see this.
Should have it here.
All right, thank you.
You know, and it didn't allow that for me to actually then work. So now the next one,
Yeah.
they're looking for some way that you can.
No, yeah, we generally design it with, the one project has had several chases. They promise that. So we have
Oh, yeah, a lot of stuff.
I saw curiosity about it.
Did you?
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Was it candy? Did you eat it? It was candy, you did it. Good presentation. Thank you very much.
it's very tight fit.
I'm always curious about it.
Some of the comments.
The nice thing is they make units go for
Dale, I got your phone call earlier. Okay. But I just wanted to let you know that I didn't get it, but I knew I
Neither really.
Yeah.
I hate that. I need to go through it. I get a lot of junk calls, honestly, with the visit. I got it all on one phone number. It's not a good excuse. Sorry about that.
You're all good. We'll try again for future.
Yes, yes. Honestly, I think that's a great idea. I want to pick some brains of some people who've done some things. You have been a commissioner. That's what you've done.
I have done this job.
I actually reached out and met. I've been meeting with a fellow lady commissioner I met at the conference that lives straight up she's from Henry County. Yes. Yeah. So you know Bob. Okay. Well, yeah. Decided to sit and we could have lunch and discuss some things. And I go to school to road school.
Are you in road school?
Yes, I'm going to do that. think she is too, so
Do you need rooms or anything, or do you already have your rooms?
we do not have rooms.
You may be running into a situation where there may not be some, but I think we still have our block of rooms that we still have a few of. These will just give you a holler and say, hey, give me one of those rooms.
Okay, and we're meeting, we're actually meeting tomorrow. So I'll talk with her, we talked about going together, and then I'll let you know right away.
If you need one, then again, just let me know and I'll get that
Okay.
for you. We'll get it set up.
That's
I
great.
mean, you guys will have to pay for it. but
Right, well, yeah, you
you'll have
can't
a
pay
room
for it,
where
but
you
you have a spot, right, I understand that. Thank you.
can help you with that. Just for that reason, you know, before Friday night, we wait till the last
Well,
minute, there's no room.
I felt it was interesting that with all the communication about the road school, I didn't even see an option to look at. I was get like from Stephanie, the Senate. Yeah, there was nothing, it was just basically to look at what was going on. Ability to hear from the speaker. A second that.
We have a motion by Dale, second by Tracy to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
We're adjourned. Thank you all very much.